Hello again everyone, Melth here, with more of my Baldur's Gate 3 challenge run, details of which are in the YouTube video description. This will be quite a special episode. I have found a way that I've engineered where I'm going to fight not just Dame Aylin and her Moonlight Slivers, but also Lorroakan and his elementals at the top of his tower, without using Globe of Invulnerability to deal with their reactions. Should be pretty epic. And after that, I'm then going to go explore the secret areas in Ramazith's tower below. As always, watch out for spoilers throughout this run. Alright, so, last time we had finished off Sarabok and his Death Knights at the same time. Got a bit of looting to do here. Sword of Chaos, not too impressive. Healing is not really in short supply, even on a run like this. I think they might have forgotten to update the description there. I don't think the map to the Ball Temple is in fact a plain unadorned note. But there is our clue to getting there. Sarabok's hat is situationally pretty good. Getting immunity to frightened and other mind-altering conditions like that does have its uses. Let's remember to grab those Death Knights. And they have an interesting, not quite complete set of armor called, I guess, the Blackguard's armor, which is sort of themed around Death Knights and Oathbreakers and things like that. For some reason, there's no helmet. You get everything else, but not that. And this guy, I guess, is wearing 2 suits of armor, so that's a little bit weird. This one I find not too impressive. We have much better armor at this point in the game that gives better saving throw boosts. This is that shield he has that gives him the ability that sounds more appropriately named for a sword, Dreadful Hewer. And his sword here is probably the best piece of gear any of these guys has, I would say. And the boots here are probably the least impressive of the lot. Getting a speed boost from Longstrider is great, but if you don't have Longstrider on everyone in your party at this point in Act 3, what are you doing? So this one is interesting for a couple of little reasons. I talked about Liara Portier, who is a fairly intriguing character. There are 3 totally separate, as far as I can tell, conspiracies revolving around her in the background of the game, without it really ever being spelled out, which is fairly interesting. We can piece things together for ourselves. I do think the writers might have made a mistake here calling her Flame Liara Portier rather than Blaze Liara Portier. She was recently promoted from Flame to Blaze as a result of Raphael's machinations for his plan, but I don't know if that would have been so recent that this set of notes for like the last couple of days basically would have still had her be a Flame at that point. Maybe. But no one's talking about her having been promoted like yesterday, basically. Anyway, one interesting thing here is that she's saying to prioritize the hand-taking murderer, but at the same time, she's failing to recognize and give any resources to Devella doing the investigation of the Ball Cult. Devella sent her a note basically saying the Ball Cultists are doing ritual murders and so forth, but somehow Liara is just failing to put 2 and 2 together and realize these are the same case. So she's denied resources for that one while telling Valeria to prioritize this one. Traveler Chest has Valeria's items in it. Supposedly here, Valeria was the only one who saw that Zarya was going to fall and become evil and so forth, but the notion that this idiot would have been the only one to predict that beggars belief. I would think either Valeria wrote it in to make herself seem smarter later, or that she had some completely wrong theory about why Zarya would turn or something like that, because our Valeria is way too dumb to have noticed something like that. She'd probably decide that Zarya was like a refugee in disguise or something. And here is Sarabok's little memoir thing. Now, I've mentioned that I'm not really happy that they chose to once again reuse Sarabok and Ball and things like that, which I think should have been, done with after the previous 2 games. Especially because this will probably undo character development that Sarabok would have had in a lot of people's runs of Baldur's Gate 2, where you can get him to stop being evil, among other things, when he joins your party. I do like this little thing here. Just that there's some explanation of how they got this underground structure built, or rebuilt, since they're talking about renovations here. The renovations looked like they might have been a bit shoddily done in some places, but I just like that there was some attempt at an explanation of why they have another giant underground complex. You can't really explain why there are so many under Baldur's Gate without them like bumping into each other while they're digging things out, but oh well. Here's where they stash some of the goods for people that they've killed. Not too much, but I guess their note on the table there says that they send most of that to the temple now. And then over here, I don't think there's too much in the cells. There's a Flaming Fist over there who was in love with Quill Grootslang, who was the Dragonborn bard that we murdered because we knocked out Alfira at the beginning of the Dark Urge's quest line, basically. And then in there, for some inexplicable reason, is a note talking about how they're going to start eating bog bodies. Now, like, if you don't know, a bog body is kind of what it sounds like. Just sometimes, if a person has died in an acidic bog, their body gets preserved and kind of becomes a natural mummy, but a wet one rather than a dry one. But they're not necessarily murder victims, and so other than being generically gross, I don't really know why the ball cult would want to eat them.
Politics, gossip.
Not to mention they're destroying valuable historical artifacts there. Okay. So, here we are at Lorroakan's tower. We've been in to do some shopping before, but haven't really had a look around. We'll do that, then we'll head up and do this special battle. Over here is one interesting thing. This is, I think, the only copy of Flameblade as a scroll in the entire game. In fact, it might be the only scroll of a druid spell, period, in the game. For whatever summons... In this game, for some reason, you only find scrolls of wizard spells, never cleric and druid ones. Don't know why that is. It kind of makes wizards become the least special spellcasters, because everyone can basically cast wizard spells from scrolls, if you don't have a challenge run rule like I do anyway. Whereas cleric and druid spells are unique to those classes and no one else can cast them ever. Anyway, you can get this scroll, but sadly you can't learn it as a wizard, so you can't really do very much with it. It would have been pretty neat to get it at this point in the game, even if it isn't actually useful necessarily. Over here they'll be zombifying some guy, a few curiosities to have a look at, and then a rather irksome Lorroakan character over here who will kind of tease you with information but won't really provide anything useful. Did we not see the answer about that? Well, she says a funny answer about these books being sensitive and so forth, and if you do talk loudly, they blow up. So, she will talk about their rare tomes and just tell you what they have, but you can't see them or read them or buy them or anything like that. They just like to brag that they have them, I guess.
Lorroakan was reluctant to house them in his tower. The pen is mightier than the magic wand.
I'm not sure I get this part, because this isn't really his tower. This is Ramazith's tower that he kind of took over, like a bird taking another bird's nest, while Ramazith was mysteriously away. And Ramazith put the books in the vaults, I think, as evidenced by the fact that Ramazith wrote the notes about how to navigate through the secret rooms there and open the doors.
Interest you? Interesting choice. If I didn't know better, I'd think you might have the necromancy of Fae in your possession.
Trade ya.
I'd advise tremendous care with the Tharkiat Codex. The cost of unlocking its mysteries is onerous.
Oh, anyway, so you can't get any really useful information out of her other than that there is a way to get into the portals through her office or whatever.
Buy books as temperamental as these.
You aren't allowed to look at them, they just want to brag they have them, basically.
I'm happy to describe the wonders that lie between their covers. But I'm afraid purchasing them is simply out of the question.
And yes, so she won't actually describe the wonders between their covers in any useful way whatsoever. So, one important thing though is behind this desk is a note that has your only clues to the pretty terrible puzzles. In fact, I hesitate to even call them puzzles in the vaults. There's another one that's, the path to Karsus somewhere or other. Other than that, it's like blind luck and completely arbitrary. Alright, so up we go. We'll meet another projection of Lorroakan, and then we can talk about how to do this battle in this special way.
Welcome, dear patron, to the floor at the top of the stairs. If you have information about the Night Song, great riches await. If you are here to waste the great wizard Lorroakan's time, reconsider. Let your knowledge determine your path forward.
So he'll summon up a bunch of portals, and if you walk through the wrong one, you take massive damage and possibly die. So we know the right one because this plaque says that she's a child of a deity.
The child of a deity.
The other ones will say false things about her. Because he called himself the Great Wizard Lorroakan, let me stop here for a moment. There's another book over there that is a failed attempt by himself to have himself added to a list of great wizards and things like that. The game starts really making fun of him and portraying him as a complete loser and whatnot at this point, but I feel like they failed to mechanically make that true. He comes off as actually, he really is a great wizard, but they keep telling us that he's like a failure and a chump. But what we see is that he really is quite good at wizardry. Alright, I'm going to have to save here so I can show you the cutscene, and then I'll show you how I avoid it happening, basically. Oh, his throne of books, which is pretty cool, hasn't loaded in, so we missed that neat part of this scene. He's sitting on a throne of books over there. Not just levitating, which would also be okay.
What have we here? A magician in a tower.
I guess you must have been flying in holding patterns waiting for us to get here.
World. What are you so scared of, Magus? Not the Night Song, surely. Why, she's nothing but a relic to be purchased and pursued.
My God.
I don't know how Roland wouldn't have known that, given that, as we just established, there's 4 portals leading up here, and 3 of them kill you. The one that doesn't is saying that she's a person.
My dear?
You will address me with due deference. I am Dame Aylin.
He's bad, but she's even more hostile to him than he deserves, and they'll hype it up as glorious when she, after he's already been defeated, brutally breaks his back and whatnot. I don't know, if we as a paladin put a toe out of line, we break her oath immediately, but she as the writer's pet can do whatever brutal and vicious thing she wants, and it's all fine and glorious.
Your fine companion, who perhaps heard I was looking for you. Dame Aylin, I have discovered a device that would allow your immortality to be shared. It would cause you no harm, no pain of any kind. You serve your mother's...
Ballista is in character interested in finding a way to actually share her immortality.
Our realm with...
His motive right now is twofold. One, he absolutely hates her for various reasons we've gone through before. He thinks that she's the biggest liability we're facing, and if she's on the loose, she'll probably screw things up in her battle against the Netherbrain. But also, if he can use her immortality to make himself not be killed by the Netherbrain, thereby saving the city, that's probably a good thing to have as insurance.
Torment for 100 years.
I had hoped to appeal to your better nature. Perhaps I overestimated you. No bother. I have an arsenal of implements capable of convincing you to see reason.
We'll take this option and then we can talk about things, but then I'll reload to show how we'll actually do the fight against both sides, since this will lead to just one side.
Shall have it. This, I promise you.
The reward is pretty paltry, really.
I will bring this tower to the ground before I'll hear it.
You know, out of character, forget a reward, I would pay Lorroakan money to just lock her up in a giant bird cage so we don't have to listen to her anymore.
There is nothing I cannot do.
You've done nothing but fail for, like, ever as far as we're aware. Anyway. Mommy Saluna comes to help her here and we just stand and watch. Notice once again, the gods are willing to intervene against us to send massive enemies to fight us and use all kinds of crazy holy powers against us, but never, ever, ever on our side. If we side with her against Lorroakan, no, we don't get any help from Saluna there. Or if we're trying to take on the Netherbrain with Dame Aylin there, no, we don't get any help from Saluna in that case either. It's an issue with the writing that the gods are always intervening directly against us, and that's somehow okay, but no, they aren't allowed to help.
I look forward to getting to know you for the next eternity. Myrmidons! Imperatum!
I do think it's a pretty cool scene overall. And a well-designed encounter, whichever side you take, I would say. Alright, so let's have a little look at it. So, we've chosen to side against Aylin, so she spawns in these 3 powerful moonlight slivers. They are really durable, they've got massive armor, and then, most dangerously, they've got this ability here, where whenever you damage them, they can counterattack you for 12d12 damage, which is a lot. Now, of course, I can block that with Globe of Invulnerability. That's a great counter to them. That's really a hard counter that can just auto-win this fight if you do it right. But I won't be doing that, because I want to have another challenge and show off some other tactics and so forth. But, as you can see, Lorroakan's guys are green units, and even if I was to just start shooting them, they would stay as green units, and there's no way to get them to be hostile once you get to this point. So he won't apply his siphon ability to me and attack me with that or anything, he'll just let me shoot him dead. So, let me reload and I'll show you what I'm going to do instead to fight both sides at once. We need to make it so that we can't talk when we go through that portal. So we're all going to drink a potion of gaseous form as our first step here. That's not enough on its own, though.
Do we have a target?
Alright, so now that we're incapable of speech, we go through the portal. So that should bypass the cutscene, now we're just kind of here, and we can see these two just sort of posing at each other while the suit of armor does target practice between them, which looks pretty silly. Now, gaseous form will wear off in a bit, and in the meantime I'm going to try to climb up that ladder and get set up there.
Breathe deep and move.
This is going to take a while for my summons to climb up. Okay, so here we are at the top. Going to ungroup our summons so we can position ourselves properly here. I'm going to have these 3 get into a triangle so we can give them a potion. So this next part can be a bit weird in how it works. Sometimes you'll pull them all into a fight, sometimes you'll only pull in one side. I can't really tell exactly what the factor is that changes them. The exact same spell in the exact same place can have different results. It might be just a race condition in the game's code that determines whether or not you pull them both in at once. But what you want to do is use some kind of AoE blast like a fireball or a smoke powder bomb that hits multiple targets at the exact same time. Something like a Scorching Ray or an Eldritch Blast targeting both sides, that's no good. It's gotta be one AoE hits both sides here. So, I'm going to save and see if I can get it to actually pull in both sides, as it usually but not always does. I guess before that, I'm going to apply a bit of poison to my weapons here. There's going to be a lot of poisonable targets. Want to see if we can paralyze any of them.
Careful, I might.
Let's see if we can throw from here. Come on, confirm that throw. There we go. They're all red. So let's have a look around the battlefield here. A lot of the enemies are quite interesting. We talked a bit about the Moonlight Slivers. Besides being very defensive, they also penalize your offense just for you being anywhere near them with that ability and that ability. So that makes their 24 AC effectively even higher. They have that massive retaliation and they hit darned hard too. Aylin herself, as usual, is worthless. She doesn't really matter compared to the rest of them. This animated armor, I mean, we've been dealing with those for a while. And Lorroakan works in an interesting way too. He's a squishy wizard against physical attacks, but he can hit back hard too, due to these effects that are caused by his myrmidons, which is pretty interesting, I would say. So while he has each of them, they give him immunity to an element, and they also, more importantly, give him a bonus reaction. So he has currently 5 reactions per turn. Luckily he can't counterspell you or things like that. That would be a real nuisance. That's like one area of wizardry where he really does suck, actually. Anyway. So, immune to a lot of elements, but also if you damage him, he'll hit you back hard. And repeatedly if you damage him multiple times with all the elements, basically. So you need to watch out for that. Even if you're resistant, he can bypass your resistance because he's good at evocation. And you gotta watch out for these guys, of course. Not her. No, she's not important. These guys retaliating with this for 12d12 rating, as we talked about. But here's the thing. All of those are reactions. If your opponent can't do reactions, they can't do those things. And this is Act 3. We've had a lot of time to learn how to deny enemies chances to do their reactions. A lot of things can do that. Entangle Lorroakan, no reactions. Look how trashy his strength is. You can just have your Dryad or whatever entangle this guy and he'll probably fail that. You can poison him, his constitution is not very good. These guys, they're not quite as weak to entangling or whatever, but look at that intelligence, and even that wisdom's not that great, given what we can throw out for spell save DCs at this point. So there are a lot of ways to incapacitate them, even without getting into things like low buff and vulnerability. Let's get some of those set up efficiently here. First of all, we're going to use a haste spore grenade for this major fight. Alright, shovel. Hit that grenade. Shovel lost initiative. That's unfortunate. That elemental must have done pretty well, because shovel has an elixir of vigilance and therefore tends to go first. Okay, well in that case, I'll also need to activate a flying potion with someone up here probably poking it. Maybe the Dryad, because it isn't that important otherwise. Other than maybe throwing out an entangle. So let's put down that fly potion. We'll put it between our 3 people that need to be able to fly to get out of here. If I'd use the Astral Touch Tadpole on them, that would of course mean that we don't need this, but for roleplay reasons and to preserve some challenge, I haven't done that on the other characters. There we go. Okay, so hit that potion of flying. They get potion of flying, that's nice. We can go ahead then and entangle, and it will probably work on some of these squishy wizards down there. Okay, so no reactions from him at this point. And then, let's next have Minthara, because she has the murder armor, fly down here into the midst of the enemy. She flew through a mean beam, took a bit of damage there. Need to watch out for those, but that's pretty minor. So, next thing to do is, we'll give her the Resonance Stone. We don't need that, we have a high enough save to see that it shouldn't be a big deal, but we can just guarantee success here, basically. So all the enemies now have Steeped in Bliss, making their already questionable mental saves, especially intelligence, now just be dismal. So, if I am to fly somewhere, this might be a good starting place, let's see. And try out my Mind Blast. That looks like that's hitting everyone except maybe Roland, who's not that important. Yeah, we'll go like that. So, that is like 99% to work on the Moonlight Slowers at this point, because my spell save DC is good and they have disadvantage and so forth. And should be a decent chance to work even on Lorroakan. And if it fails on someone, I can fix that probably with a cutting word, so we'll try that. There we go. Everyone's stunned. When you're stunned, you can't react, so sucks to be you guys.
Yes.
Okay. So, next up, I think I'm going to pull some of these guys together. Maybe I will throw out a Void Bulb for that. That'll then make it easier to set up certain other effects on them. Even entangled one of them, how nice.
Ready for another round?
Okay, you've got your haste. Minthara is usually the least important attacker. We can maybe have her drop down water bottle among them. Feels plausible, they're all stunned and helpless anyway. And then you fly on down there. And let's unleash one of our chain lightnings. And I'll use up my last destructive wrath here. It's about time for a short rest to get some of those back anyway, I think. That didn't really target the ones that I wanted, per se, but did good damage to those that it hit. I could blast away again if I wanted to and hit that Myrmidon back there with a lightning bolt or something like that, maybe. Perhaps I will. It might be overkill, but it's fun overkill. It's not hitting it is hitting Minthara. Okay, Minthara. Scooch over. I know it'd actually be better to go over there and target them like that. I can get more guys there, I think. Okay. I can even upcast a lightning bolt here, but given that I'm not planning to maximize that, I don't think that's worth it. We'll just cast regular old lightning bolt. So it's not going to target those guys. Guess who's got movement speed? I guess Lorroakan's still immune to the lightning, but oh well. Alright, so a lot of damage dealt there. Next up, we could throw out some water blasts at them, but I think we're probably better off switching to our poison attacker now and seeing what he can do. Let's apply Aura of Murder over here. We don't really need that, given how low HP they are, but, you know, whatever. It'll possibly, unpredictably, negate the resistance to piercing that they have. I can't tell who it bounced to. Now, we're not fungal infesting anyone here. That's not too useful. Huh, Lorroakan survived. What are the odds? Aylin is paralyzed and utterly unimportant anyway. Let's get you over here in on the action. And also maybe our Deva can get in on things. He's a pretty good finisher, I think, for Lorroakan. I might take a teensy bit of fire damage here on the Deva. I'm not too concerned about that. 100% to hit, I like that. Could probably pick a better target. Oh well. And not awful. Why can't you attack? Oh well.
Unleash me.
So Aylin, I think we can now safely ignore. If we deal with the fire Myrmidon next, we can then free up more of our guys to act. There it goes. That freed up a whole other army.
My victims await.
Let's see. You can't do another Ice Blast, so I don't know. Just flying down and do a Heimel Strike on that guy, maybe. Oh, you know, we can get the bird in on this. Sure. Go for a blind on someone. Hey, nice. It even worked. Okay, now smack that guy with a Heimel Strike. Nicely done. Bird. I guess you can go for another blind, even. Sure. I wonder why I didn't do 2 damage, given that the guy is, vulnerable due to Aura of Murder. Doesn't really matter. Okay, Saurian's got tons of shots left, so he can probably finish that guy. He's outside range, so that's canceling off my advantage. So, okay, down we go. Go, down. Okay. I don't know why an elemental would even be mucusable, but I guess they are.
They're dying for me.
Okay. And you've got a lot of Eldritch Blast to go if we can get you a kill on something. So let's turn off Repelling Blast so we don't push anyone around that we don't want to. And you're probably a good candidate to fire off 1 blast over there, let's say. There we go. And let's go with 2 on that guy. And sure, I think this will probably be the finisher. Oh, I didn't actually get the kill over there. Clumsy of me not to notice that. Okay.
Let me strike.
Getting a little overconfident here, but I think you can see why. This army of skeletons is still ready to go. Sure, finish off that guy. And you've got more shots. Work on that guy. More skeletons. Here's some fire. Whatever.
There's blood in the air.
And that just leaves Aylin herself. We have tons of actions left, so I guess we'll just go for her. And in this one circumstance, she won't just get back up.
I will rise again.
That's the idea. Now, of course, in character, we are a party of master wizards here. We've got Gale, a magical prodigy. We've got Balthazar's own notes we saw with our own eyes, how his first circle worked. We did all kinds of research about it. So, in character at this point, I'm pretty confident we could just get that spell going and put Aylin into it. Out of character, there's no way to do that, but we will just roleplay that that is what has happened. She's locked up there for her and Isabel's and my own good, and will be out of our way, and we have insurance when fighting the Netherbrain. What we'll actually find is if we come back, there'll be a note saying she's going to kill you and your children or whatever. Again, very paladin-y, right? Ring of Regeneration. Anyway, didn't want to kill Roland, really. We probably wouldn't have done that in character, but once you confront Aylin in any way, he's a dead man at that point. Even if you keep him alive throughout the combat, he'll just be killed by her off screen. I don't know what everything is to do with Athkatla here. As far as more than just like a place and nothing to do with magic, really.
How much further can I go?
Alright, so next up, we will head on down into the secret treasure stores. Down this path of floating furniture. This might be kind of an improvised thing put together by Lorroakan because he didn't have direct control of the original version of the tower as set up by Ramazeth or whatever. That's just speculation on my part. Anyway, there's lots of traps around here, and you can blow yourself up if you hit the wrong button. You know, some treasures. I don't remember there being anything too good on this floor. Let me know if I missed something big, but I think I don't remember anything that was very important up here. Given they've already basically done all the shopping and have effectively infinite money at this point.
Vaults.
So that one takes you to the vaults. We'll want that eventually. But where's the one for below? I know there's one here somewhere. We don't want to hit security. The drumbeat of my summon slowly walking down. There we go, that's the one for below. You can interrogate Lorroakan about how to bypass these so that all magic can be dispelled. I have no idea what he's talking about there. There's no way to dispel this thing. There's only one way to deal with these barriers.
What a charm.
And we will need to make some checks for that. I think they're intelligence-based, so it's probably smart of us to put on the headband of intellect temporarily. And I think we'll also want to have Karlach give us guidance. And we've got a pretty good number of bonuses at this point. So we spotted that. I think we can now interact with it. We get this check.
What's that?
I think we have enough inspiration that it'll be okay. If we fail, we can fix it. But I also have enough bonuses, I'm not too worried about it. So that's one dealt with. Now that one. There we are. We can switch these hats back. Alright, so this is one of the strongest quarterstaffs in the game. It has all kinds of interesting effects and whatnot. The one that I'm most interested in is just that it gives you arcane battery. But you can also do this thing to give yourself a special elemental perk depending on what element you pick. For me right now, I think the biggest thing that I want from it is just to be able to get out another 6th level spell slot from Karlach to cast Hero's Feast but we'll get to that in a little bit here.
Despite everything.
Then over here, there's this robe that is also really quite good. So some good treasure as a reward for an epic battle there. So, gives another bonus to your spell save. You see, that's not that rare in clothes at this point. +2 armor class is pretty solid. Overall, I would say that it's not like a great wizard robe. I would never switch it out in places like the potent robe or whatever, but if you don't have something else that's really specialized for your character, it's a solid backup option. Probably everyone's like third favorite mage armor. Maybe some people's first or second. That'll take you back up. There's like one more chest down here, isn't there?
Build my castle with bones.
I think I need to dispel something there. You guys pass some arcane checks? Pretty please. I'm pretty sure that thing is booby-trapped. Alright, Astarion.
All is ash and meat. They should all be running.
We've got a job for you. We can replace his summon.
What have we here?
That's progress.
Alright, so one of these was the vault button. That's what we want next, to go down into the secret-filled vaults. There are 4 secret rooms in them. We'll start off in one of them if we come from this direction, I believe. And that'll talk about how to find the other 3.
I'll give it a shot.
So, we're in this area here with this locked display case. This one, as far as I'm aware, not booby-trapped. Though a lot of things in here are. And this contains a useful spell that's kind of a super version of Magic Missile. You can either cast it once or you can inscribe it as a wizard's scroll. It's pretty solid, so I'll definitely be taking that and giving it to a character after this. I think the book itself is not useful as I recollect. Nah, I wouldn't even bother with that one. Don't worry about this, everything's an invisible floor, you're fine. Okay, so that was one secret area. Then we've got some chests over here, and basically you just want to go out to each of these chests everywhere along this path and just try to walk through the walls behind them. That's where a lot of the secrets are hidden. And I don't remember which of the almost identical places they're hidden, but here's one of them. This one is a bit of a trap. I guess we'll actually have Astarion go in there. Is he concentrating on something right now? Did he get left behind? He got left behind.
Let's move.
We can have Astarion interact with it.
Oh, you've arrived in the nick of time, saintly adventurer.
Another genie.
I guess I'm half mad. Ho ho! Thank you for sacrificing yourself to save me. Such courage brings a tear to the eye.
I don't know if genie can cry because they're like wind spirits.
No need for such bluster. All you have to do is swap with someone and you're as free as a sounding bird. Toodles!
So out he goes, leaving Astarion alone, trapped in the lab.
Oh, freedom's sweet nectar. How I missed you. Oh, my rescuer left behind a servant. I'm terribly sorry for your loss. I'm sure you're at your wit's end without your master. Companion? Oh. Sale of the flesh is an admirable trade. I'm sure you'll find another benefactor. However, should you wish to trade places with your companion, simply touch the lamp. Now,
Sadly, we can't just like force him to touch the lamp. But anyway, he is not too much of a fight. Not for a party like this. Even without a Starian, I don't think we need to even try very hard here. Alright, so that's dealt with easily enough.
Just.
Don't think he drops anything. Anyway, inside the lamp we can get a scroll of Summon Quasit, which is a genuinely useful reward. If you use it, then that will replace you in the lamp. A few decent treasures in here, but nothing too special. There's the scroll of Summon Quasit. Useful because quases are useful. We of course already have one, so for our party it's not that great compared to having, you know, another raven or whatever. But it's one way you can get yourself out of here. Another thing that works, I believe, if you don't want to leave anything trapped in there forever, for, you know, roleplay purposes of not being awful, is I think if you just cast Banishment on yourself, which I have many scrolls of, that should get you out of here. And that's a wizard spell that Carla could cast. There we are. Lamp escaped.
And meat.
Should probably resummon that familiar. We'll have a drink that if it survives the booby traps in here. It should, but it might mess up.
Anything of use? With a flick of the wrist.
So pull that lever to open the way.
Something over there.
Miklar was that poor servant who just got killed in the crossfire. You know, the first time I was playing through this game and so forth, and part of why I came to hate Aylin so much was I was doing that battle, I sided with her against Lorroakan, and I thought, I'm going to just spare this servant and only take down the people here that are actually bad. But Aylin ended up deliberately killing him when he was already knocked out, rather than targeting, you know, Lorroakan, who was still up. Just massacring a civilian there who was already unconscious and helpless. And then managed to take out Roland too with her stupid moonbeam. A danger to her friends more than to her enemies.
Storage and sorting of scrollwork, parchment, and tomes.
Another gaseous form to replace the many that we had to spend to do this unusual double fight. Okay, so through to the next section we go. I don't think there's anything up there. I haven't actually tried to fly up, but I don't think those shelves look interactable. Okay. Is that one of the ones that's pathable behind? No, we'll check the other side. There we go. Let us lockpick this. I'm not trying to talk to you, Menthar. No, I don't. Sure, we'll kiss.
I am yours.
Though,
Come to me.
he's becoming more and more put off by Menthar, not seeming to be reformable.
Thank you.
Oh, not in my good horn.
You wish to consult me? Apologies if your heart raced more than it normally does after our last kiss. A trace of toxin clung to my lips. I take small...
Having not done romance with Minthara before.
...to build immunity.
Mithridatism, named after a king of what's now kind of northern Turkey who supposedly did that. It works on some poisons, not on others though. Some just build up and you get sick and die without developing any resistance to them.
A mild poisoning is the least of the risks you take when choosing to share your body.
You don't make this sound very appealing, Minthara. Okay, I think one more thing will probably be the last straw and they'll be through. So this is Lorroakan, I guess. He's probably implying that he could become a lich or something like that, but he chooses, you know, not to go for the Night Song plan instead. It makes sense. More moral, too. Becoming a lich always involves vague but unspeakable evilness. Alright, and then this one gives you another summon scroll. It lets you summon yourself a Deva. Now, as far as I'm aware, the Deva is a typical standard Deva, but you can do it as a wizard. And that, therefore, is pretty useful. That will allow me to get a Deva not just on, Karlach, my cleric, but on Minthara, my druid wizard. So, that will be a nice boost for the party, to have one more ultra summon flying around.
No entry to vaults. Trespassers will be disintegrated. Master Lorroakan.
Ramazith was the original owner of this tower, as I mentioned.
Let us send forth at least food.
Where's the lever? I think, remember, there's an invisible lever in each room that disables the traps, basically.
Each door named after a wizard of renown.
So, there's Silverhand, Elminster, and Karsus. Now, basically, there is no logic or rhyme or reason to this puzzle. You have to have just read the note that was hidden in one place that gives the arbitrary clues to it. So, where is the lever in here? I know there is one somewhere. There it is. Let me ungroup everyone and fly over and touch the lever without anyone else getting close to it. Okay. In fact, it might leave people ungrouped. Anyway, actually two things here. So, we'll attack the illusion door. It's actually not an illusion, but it is destructible, and behind it is the fourth and final one of the secrets in here, with a not too impressive axe. But, fun that there's lots of secrets. I do enjoy that. So now we go through the evocation door. Just keep teleporting us around. We'll once again look for a lever. Is there one here somewhere? Disabled. Okay. And then the next one is Wish. Now, Wish is not an evocation spell, and as far as I can recollect, it never has been. It's Conjuration in this edition, it was a universal one in the past, so no connection. And Elminster is not an evoker wizard either, so again, no connection. It's completely arbitrary. But that's how you get into this little vault here, is to have, notice that sequence of words in that one scrap of paper, basically. I don't remember for sure how to disable this one. It might be the lever. I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to disable the plates. Pull it. Pull the lever. Okay. Then I think if we hit one of these other ones, we'll just be sent back without harm. But now the Elminster doorway will be open once we go to... Does transportation send us back? I think it might. Is that the Elminster? That's the Elminster one. Okay. Gonna move carefully in case I've forgotten any booby traps here. These chests are originally hidden for whatever reason. but you can spot them with scene visibility. You know, diamonds and jewels we don't care too much about. Sure, that's a scroll.
What's hiding here?
This hat, you could theoretically use this at considerable cost or hit points in like a fire sorcerer build. I am not at all impressed with fire sorcerers, as I've mentioned before. And even for them, they probably want to use, instead, the hat of, you know, fire acuity. But there could be a use case for it on that kind of build, at least. Okay, so now we're going to get the Tharkiate Codex. When we read that, we will take a penalty that we can only fix with a remove curse, which will also cause, because we also have this curse, a bunch of Davis to spawn. So I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to do that next time I fight like 8 Davis at once. And then remove the curse. Okay, so next up we need to get into the Karsus Vault over there. And the path of this one is just as arbitrary. So we once again go into Silverhand. Group them all up. And then this time it is Abjuration next.
Someone doesn't like visitors.
Let's ungroup and I'll pull the lever before anyone steps on anything. Okay, so the arbitrary thing here, the arbitrary adjective is silver. I think I can fly over there and pull the lever and then fly back. So I really don't like the design of these puzzles ultimately. If there was some kind of thing where if you had studied magic properly, you would know what spells were in what school or what each wizard was associated with, that would be something. But there's nothing. In fact, there's like anti-connections there. So if you haven't happened to pick up that note, you just have to look it up online or just brute force it. Which is not too bad if you disable the traps, it just is, you know, tedious and silly. Okay. Down the Karsus Vault path. Not sure what that broken bit there is about. So we get a lot more scrolls in here. Dethrone is a unique spell you only find here. It's, you know, I wouldn't say it's that great. It's a single target spell targeting Constitution. You'll often find something like Disintegrate is better on the rare circumstances where you want to just do single target massive damage, I guess. But it does have a niche use with the Staff of Cherished Necromancy that we'll be getting pretty soon. You'll often want to use that with Circle of Death instead, but sometimes you have only one target to bring down, and, you know, it can be okay there, I guess. So he describes his items here. We get another Scroll of Dethrone. So you can teach this niche spell to both your wizards if you wanted to.
A book on Netherese magic.
So we can certainly show that to Gale. And then I guess we'll just go through the piles of scrolls and grab everything. I probably won't bother with some of these items anymore, that I would just be using as vendor trash. Ignoring bloodstain resistance, that's worth something occasionally. But like, we're at the point in the game now where we have a lot of ways to manufacture vulnerability rather than just negating resistance. So if you don't have a way to manufacture vulnerability, getting resistance is something, but it's not really keeping up anymore. With that, I think I've got all the secrets there are in here and everything notable from Lorroakan's tower. And it's now time for us to return the way we came. Let me know if I missed something. I think next time we'll fight an army of angry Devas, read the Necromancy of Thay to the end, and then it's just a question of whether I want to go to Raphael's domain next or to the Shar Temple, I think. Apparently we have somehow or other aggroed everyone in the store. So I guess next episode we'll be fighting our way out of here and probably through some flaming fists. Should be interesting. And then we'll do the fighting an army of Devas stuff. Thank you for watching, everyone. And a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. The Irreverent Reverend, Master Knight DH, Jackie, Enlina, Travis, Andrew Curzon, Trubsy, Oliver, Cronish, Jago, DK in DK, Gregory, Broken Box, Jenna M, Just Becca, Jack, Marcus the Carcass, Nubiana, Discord Colossus, Nicholas Schmuck, Kostya Nesterovich, Frederick Brun, Robin, Stefan Van Zyl, Eddie, Mina, Ali Kasamoglu, Skylar Sauce, Nick Myers, Emp Ninjas, Preben A, Chupatan, Diabetic Cat, Marvin Fay, Max, Afro Zamurai, Step Back Too Deadly, Lodestone, Bitmars, Brad, IJ23, Rodrigo Lopez Dato, Kevin Ditchide, Silent, Eldritch, Jake Watson, and a name that starts with sword emojis. Have a great day, everyone.